Now the time had come for the end of the first dawn of Dan after the creation of man. And this was known in the Etherian heavens, where countless millions of Jehovah's emancipated sons and daughters lived. And, as might be expected, they decided to descend, which they did from all sides, to witness the labors of Oahspe, and to receive his works as a profitable lesson for their own future on other new worlds. For being the first dawn of Dan upon the planet, Oahspe's labors attracted many curious ethereans who had no direct involvement in receiving the newly resurrected. For the event was like a coming out party when a family brings out their first newborn child for the first time into public, and friends and relatives come to view and remark about the child, and the family takes the visitors in to see the nursery. Consequently, distant stars began to appear in the firmament, approaching, and these were the Etherian ships from remote places, where the name of Oahspe had been known for thousands of years. From all sides they came, growing ever brighter and larger. Oahspe spoke to his companions, saying, "Make ready, O my beloved. My friends and your friends are coming. Put our ship in order. Light the pillars of fire and spread out the sails, shining, so that they may be glorified in Jehovah's name." The proper persons accomplished these things. Now, the Etherian ship of Oahspe was anchored east of Yeshua, and so great was its size that there was room not only for the Etherians of Enacharan, but for more than 300 million of the redeemed of earth to ascend with them. Oahspe said, "When our friends arrive, we shall join them and make an excursion around the earth, discovering its rank and glorious promises. But as to the 900 million drujas which I sent off to Hudeo, in Gia, we shall pass there on our way to Enacharan." Brighter and brighter grew the descending stars, the Etherian ships from faraway worlds, and larger, till in majesty they neared Yeshua. Oahspe then came down and sat at the foot of the throne, according to the custom of gods. God came down and took him by the hand, saying, "Son of Jehovah, you who make yourself the least of men, arise, and take your hosts, and embark in Jehovah's ship, going wherever you will." Oahspe rose up. The esenors and trumpeters played and sang. Then Oahspe said, "One more love I, Oahspe, have in the world, O Jehovah. I go from Yeshua, but my love remains. To you, O God, I will look back in hope and love, for you were raised by me. And to your lords what less could I say? Yes, and to all the hosts I leave within these realms." Oahspe touched God's right hand, and then saluting, with the third sign of Emeth, faith, to Jehovah, departed, and the marshals conducted him off to the ship. Oahspe and his Etherian hosts rose up in curtains of light, and presently the ship was loosened from its anchorage and floated upward, and all the angels entered it, and the sails were spread out, and the mantles suspended on every side, till the whole vessel, with its thousands of masts and arcs, looked like a world on fire. The inhabitants of Yeshua feared and trembled at the mighty works of the gods and goddesses, and yet, as the esenors on the departing ship chanted, more than 1,000,000 voices, the Yeshuans sang with them, amid their tears, with souls overflowing, with awe, love and admiration. In that same time the descending stars of other gods and goddesses, the Etherian ships from faraway worlds, were drawing nearer and nearer, and, on every side, the firmament was alive with worlds on fire. Presently they came, first one and then another of the Etherians, and they made fast to Oahspe's ship, until more than 500 ships were united into one mighty vessel, and yet so near to Yeshua, that all could be seen. And when they, the Etherians, had united there were countless millions of angels in close proximity, many who had known one another for thousands of years, and some who were older than the earth, and knew its history. And these had companions as old as themselves, and they were ripe in experience with corporeal earths, stars and suns in other regions of Jehovah's kingdoms. So great was the wisdom of these gods and goddesses, That to come within the earth's atmosphere was sufficient to enable them to read all the souls and prayers of mortals, and all the thoughts and desires of the spirits of the lower heaven belonging to the earth. To each and all of them, the voice of Jehovih was ever present, and their power was equal to their wisdom. Jehovih has said, "To the corporean I have given power, to hear one or two things at the same time. But my gods can intelligently hear tens of thousands of people speaking at the same time. Yes, they can find a way to answer them also." When the ships were ready for departure, Oahspe said, "Let us pass low over Yeshua, and you shall hear and see those I have founded in a new heaven." His companions said, "Jehovah's will be done." So they proceeded, and after they had visited Yeshua they descended to the earth, and throughout the places of the lords. And when they had seen all, and heard the explanation from those with Oahspe, regarding the state of the earth and its heavens, they rose higher and higher, and sailed toward Anacharon, where Oahspe had invited them for repast, for food, refreshments, and festivity, and social intercourse. Thus the ethereans departed from the earth and atmosphere. This, then, was the beginning of the cycles of Dan, and the first dawn was closed and past. And the earth gods, that is, the lords, who were now called Etonia, were of those brought forth out of the earth. And God, who had dominion in the atmosphere of the earth, was also an earth born, and so were all the angels in atmosphere the product of the earth. And in Jehovah's name the lords and God were appointed, and crowned to rule in their respective places, and by this means they became the instruments of Jehovah for his glory. Jehovah said, "Whoever serves me, in my name, is my son, or my daughter. The light of my judgment falls upon them sufficient for the time and place. To the extent that you honor them, you honor me also. Through the flowers of the field I express myself in color and perfume. Through the lion and mastodon I express myself with power and voraciousness. Through the lamb and the dove I express myself in meekness and docility. Through man I express myself in words and actions. And all men, the wise and the ignorant, are channels of my expression. Some have thick tongues and poor speech, nevertheless they are my babes, my sons and daughters." Jehovah said, "After the Semian age, I gave to the earth from my etherean heavens sons and daughters, and they abode with mortals for 3,000 years. And my ethereans established Lewis on the lands of the earth, and they, the ethereans, commanded the Lewis, saying to them, Your office, your charge, is to lead mortals by inspiration to dwell together, man and woman, as husband and wife, and in such adaptation, that their offspring shall rise higher in wisdom, love and power, than the father and mother." Jehovah said, "I will confound the wise man in the latter days, for he will not discover why man and woman did not live indiscriminately, like the beasts. Yes, I will show him that those who profess me are led by me, and those who deny me go down to indiscriminate communion. Out of my works, the lessons of the early days of the earth shall show the presence of my hand from the beginning. By my Lewis, man and woman were inspired to raise up sons and daughters who would glorify me in my works. By my Lewis, I have maintained my foothold among mortals. Those who could comprehend me, having faith that my presence in person would ultimately triumph for the highest and best, I commanded to be called Fathus. Since the beginning, I have kept a thread of this line inhabiting the earth and her heavens. The first harvest, of the second cycle, then, was 200 years, and the number of brides and bridegrooms was 600 million, of grade 92. The second harvest, of the second cycle, was 200 years, and was 800 million angels, of grade 89. The third harvest, of the second cycle, was 600 years, and was 2 billion angels, of grade 83. The fourth harvest, of the second cycle, was 500 years, and was 2,300,000,000 angels, of grade 74. The fifth harvest, of the second cycle, was 300 years, and was 600 million angels, of grade 62. The sixth harvest, of the second cycle, was 400 years, and 900 million angels, of grade 51. And this was the last harvest, for none after that were of sufficient grade to live in the etherean heavens. And now wars began in Atmospheria, thousands of angels against thousands, and millions against millions, for the possession of sections of the earth, and its mortal inhabitants. These millions of warring angels went forth. And it came to pass that mortals also fell to war, and, by the obsessing angels, were made to destroy their own cities and kingdoms. And the attractions of this great wickedness caused other angels of heaven to desert their schools and factories, and descend down to mortals. Thus again, the kingdoms of God and his lords were reduced to impotence. The harvests of brides and bridegrooms had long since ceased to be. At the end of the second cycle there were 6 billion angels in Atmospheria, who, for the most part, were in darkness, not knowing who they were, or where they dwelt, neither knowing nor caring whether or not there were other heavens.